We use a global macro investor total global liquidity index, right, as our benchmark for debasement. The Nasdaq, since 2012, has a 97.5% correlation, and Bitcoin is about a 90%. So what you've got is the most single dominant macro factor in our entire investing careers.
Yeah.
We've never had one factor, because before we used to run diversified portfolios and we'd be figuring this stuff out. None of it matters. It's all one trade.
Yeah.
Which makes it super easy. I think it's the greatest macro trade of all time. We've both been in it, you particularly, for a very long time. It's so simple once you see it through those eyes.
Global liquidity drives markets, with Bitcoin and the Nasdaq closely tracking its move. Inflation and rate cuts push investors towards safe havens like Bitcoin and gold, fueling the debasement trade. Bitcoin hovers around $114,000, facing resistance at $115,000. Analysts stress holding support and on-chain activity for a potential breakout amid cautious trading volumes. Solana gains momentum with its first US-based ETF, offering staking rewards and institutional access. Analysts predict strong growth, signaling a new era for crypto investment.
Stop. You don't have time. Don't miss out this 2025 bull run. Educate yourself first ahead of the crowd. We have created the ultimate step-by-step crypto cheat guide that will guide you this bull run. Unlock the secrets of crypto and make smarter investments today. Now by clicking on the link below to get your exclusive copy just under $10.
As ever, because it's us, let's start with the macro. Where's the world? How are you reading it right now?
Oh, I think monetary policy is fascinating. We have full employment. Inflation is debasing our assets by 3% a year. Over your lifetime, that's 90% of your purchasing power gone. And they're cutting rates. It's crazy. It really is crazy. So unfortunately, I think on the macro side, there's some bad outcomes coming. And again, these things take 5 or 10 years. So it's kind of a boil the frog type thing. Your viewers probably won't see it happen next week and they won't go, the dam was right or whatever. But I think, the macro stuff is just out of balance, that we have $2 trillion deficits in the United States, literally in the best of times. What else could be better? Stock market record high, real estate record high, everything, unemployment record low. And if you're running a $2 trillion deficit in the good times, it's scary to think of what could happen in the bad times. So that's my main thing. I think the Fed really made a couple huge policy mistakes in 2020 and 2021. There was a time where inflation was 8% and the Fed funds rate was 0. That's called a policy error, right? And decreasing rates right now when everything's booming, record everything, record fiscal deficits, the monetary system is supposed to be the check and balance, right? It should be the thing that's balancing excessive fiscal spending. And I just don't see that. And it really is wild that the Fed is currently cutting. They're forecasting much more cuts. If anything, they should be hiking.
Yeah, how I look at it is, yes, there's 3% inflation, but there's 8% debasement. So they're printing fiat currency at the rate of 8% a year globally.
Yeah.
So you kind of add that to the 3%. I think of it as like a 11% hurdle rate right now. So your money's getting evaporated, which is why this rush into gold, crypto, everything else keeps going. But then when you listen to Scott Bessent, who's one of our macro brethren that we've all known for years, Scott is saying he wants a weaker dollar and he needs to refinance the debt and he needs to get rates down to refinance the debt, or the deficit gets even bigger. So it's like, okay, you can see the trap now. There's nothing they can do except keep debasing until they get through the debt refi cycle.
Global liquidity is driving markets, pushing investors towards safe havens like Bitcoin and gold. Bitcoin hovers around $114,000, with a breakout above $115,000 depending on support and trading activity. Solana gains momentum with its first US-based ETF, offering staking rewards and institutional access, signaling potential growth and wider crypto adoption.
So that setup of the endless debasement, the sticky inflation, the lack of the productivity increase yet, just means that it's just pushing people out on the life raft. So it's between gold and Bitcoin. And we've seen just dramatic flows into those. As people, even JP Morgan talked about the debasement trade. We've been talking about it in crypto for fucking 10 years. And finally, they're like, oh, they're debasing currency. I'm like, finally.
That is so funny. I literally sent an email to our head of content this morning, forwarding, JP Morgan's talking about it. And I got an email from Goldman today, the debasement trade. How do you play the debasement trade? I'm like, I've been talking about it for 12 years. And so, yes, we were there early, but let them get the glory. They're all talking about it now. It's kind of like, when your colleague did the BRICS acronym. I heard that yesterday in a meeting, the BRICS, Goldman Sachs coined that phrase in the 90s. And so, it's now the debasement trade TM. They have a trademark on it now. But it's great that it is a trade, because I think we need to think that way. Like, that is the macro issue right now. Every government is printing way too much paper money. A third of the landmass of the earth is covered with trees, right? So there's no stopping the printing of paper money. There's plenty of paper out there. So it's coming, and that's why everything's surging, including gold, Bitcoin.
So here's one for you. You might not have seen that. We use a global macro investor total global liquidity index, right, as our benchmark for debasement. The Nasdaq, since 2012, has a 97.5% correlation, and Bitcoin is about a 90%. So what you've got is the most single dominant macro factor in our entire investing careers.
Yeah.
We've never had one factor, because before we used to run diversified portfolios and we'd be figuring this stuff out. None of it matters. It's all one trade.
Yeah.
Which makes it super easy. I think it's the greatest macro trade of all time. We've both been in it, you particularly, for a very long time. It's so simple once you see it through those eyes.
Global liquidity continues to shape financial markets, driving investors towards safe haven assets like Bitcoin and gold. Bitcoin is currently trading around $114,000, facing resistance at $115,000, and analysts highlight that maintaining support and increased trading activity will be key for a potential breakout. The broader macro environment, including inflation and central bank policies, reinforces this shift toward digital and alternative asset. Meanwhile, Solana is gaining momentum with the launch of its first US-based ETF, offering staking rewards and easier institutional access. Analysts see this as a milestone that could fuel further growth and signal wider adoption of regulated crypto products. Will Bitcoin manage to break above $115,000 in the coming weeks? Do you think Solana ETFs will drive mainstream crypto adoption? Share your thoughts in the comments.